Hi, everyone. And today I am talking to the wonderful Chris Bradburn from Elevating Voices CIC. So, Chris, welcome. Really lovely to be speaking with you. Um, let's start straight away and just tell me a little bit about your social enterprise. What is it? What does it do?
So Elevating Voices CIC um was set up as a film production company. It was designed to help autistic people get into film. Um, it was also set up in mind of helping other clients who run social enterprises to create films that kind of highlight what work they do. Things like how they get like if they get funding, like how the funding has benefited their organization. Um, yeah, we like I say we work with like other CICs in the past year. We've worked with like I think we worked with a CIC last year called Hired CIC based in Bishop Auckland in County Durham, and they help people get support into work who are disabled, and we did a couple of short films for them that can be found on the YouTube page. And they were basically films about like some of what support the workers had had. Um, as I say, this year we're looking to expand our business. We've only been going, like I say, this is our second year in the business. So this year we want to kind of focus on filmmaking workshops using a mobile phone, using simple camera on a phone or using simple editing software. Um, we also want to do quite a bit of stuff around Autism Awareness Week, which
Mhm.
is coming up in March and April. And eventually, the longer term goal is to also get into documentary filmmaking. We want to create documentaries that kind of showcase and highlight the true, um, sort of the truth about autism rather than what people think it is. So basically, what we found is that there's a big issue in the UK with like people with autism that they're still not getting the representation they deserve. They're still not like getting us out there. People are kind of like being like, oh well, you can't be this, you can't be that because you're autistic. You can't do it, you can't do that because of your autism. I'm probably one of the greatest examples of that because I've been in that position before, trying to find work. I got a degree in master's degree in digital filmmaking from the University of Bradford, but then when I left, came back up to the Northeast, there was nothing for me.
Mhm.
I struggled to find work, struggled at the job centre. Then I worked with another CIC called Beacon Film CIC, and they helped me to develop as a filmmaker. And then obviously I was given advice to set up as self-employed. And then I was eventually given advice like, oh, because you already work with like the autistic community, you might as well set up as a community interest company. Um, and yeah, so that was how that came about. And then what happened was, I got two board of directors who were also my access to work mentors. Got a guy on the board called Martin Oliver Wright, who is from based in Hartlepool. And he's like got experience in like social media and sort of mark and sort of like putting the business out there. And then we've also got another filmmaker on the board called Jennifer Dinwoody, who also happens to work for Beacon Films CIC as the goals mentor. And she's helping kind of like finding new clients, kind of getting us sort of out there. And we've also got other people on the team as well, other like mentors that are helping me with the business. So I've got a guy who's helping me with like the filming side things called James Shepherd, who works for a CIC called Jack Drum Art in County Durham. And then I've also got another guy who's recently come on board called Brian Barnes, who has a lot of contacts um, in Hartlepool. So I think we're starting to get the business out there. And at the moment, it's kind of like we're kind of seeing how this year sort of plays out in terms of like where we can get the business, where we can take it to like what can we do. And I know I was talking about this last year. I said one of the things I was thinking about was like having splitting the business in like three different arms. So we have like elevating voices, which is about getting people's voices out there from the autistic community. We also had connected voices, which is about connecting up people from the industry. I was at an event last year and I found out that the screen industries and like sort of the whole freelance industry doesn't have like a place where autistic people can meet up, where they can like talk to each other. And I was thinking that would be something that I would really love to develop more, like a network, especially like say in the Northeast and to
Oh,
kind
that
of
would be
expand out to the
amazing.
wider. UK because I think like there's a lot of autistic
Hmm.
people out there that's still falling through the net, and I think there are other disabled artists that are like falling through like a net, and I want to kind of be that net to kind of say, if we have this whole directory, this whole network, we can do that, and then obviously we had the other side of the company which is called Hidden Voices, which is about showcasing hidden voices, creating documentaries that kind of highlight hidden voices of autistic people who don't get the chance to share their opinions. And what we find is that if you do it by film, it's a bit more comfortable than having to
Hmm.
like talk to people in person because a lot of autistic people don't interact with the world. Whereas I'm trying to find a new medium for them to interact. And I think what we found is that when you put a camera in front of a person, they're more open to talk about their autism. Whereas if you stick them in front of another person, it's like sometimes they get nervous about what they want to say. So yeah.
That's super interesting, really interesting, Christopher. And I wonder then, so with the film inside that you're doing at the moment, so the first part of the work that you're doing within your social enterprise, so making films and that kind of stuff, how is that supporting autistic people? Is it that the crew is autistic, or how does that work?
So at the moment, we kind of said the whole basis of elevating voices works because I'm autistic myself. So
Mhm.
basically, that's what we put on like our kick form to say, that I'm autistic and I'm learning myself as an autistic person. But eventually, the goal is once we start getting money in the business, we want to be able to hire other autistic people to get involved with the company. We want to like hire autistic talent to like be a part of these big productions in the future. It's one of our long-term goals
Mhm.
is to kind of support because we know like there's a lot of people out there, especially I mean, there's like Facebook pages like for the film industry for disabled people. And what we tend to find is that like I think it's only like 8%. I think it's a very low percentage of people who are actually disabled and autistic who actually work in the film industries, and I think that's really low considering there's like a lot of people that want to go into film now.
Mhm.
We find that a lot of people tend to like some people want to do it just as a hobby, just as a way to get creative, but some people want to take it as a long-term career. But we find that they can't because like the industry doesn't still accept them. Like you get like these big corporations like BBC, it's like, oh, we can't hire you because of your autism. And I know there are, like I say, there are other CICs out there that I know of that are doing similar work in like helping people with autism to kind of like build up skills. And eventually that's what we want to do when we kind of get more money in the business. We've kind of put together grant applications and say, we want to support people with autism to get into work and we want to give them those opportunities. We kind of, at the moment, we're kind of expanding the business so that we kind of take more of the work because at the moment I'm just like a one-man band along with the other directors. It's kind of like a
Mhm.
one-man band, just me. But we want to expand the company so it's like other people are getting other jobs too, like hiring an accountant, or hiring people who will do some of like the safeguarding tasks so we don't have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
And this is like kind of the whole person. We're kind of like doing like an outreach at the moment of like, trying to get more work in the business and saying, right, we need to think about like where we're taking the business in. Like we do think about the future, like where we're going in 1 year's time, 3 years' time, 5 years'
Yeah,
time.
yeah, for sure. It's super important to be getting those business plans in place and shooting for the stars because then, yeah, it sounds absolutely amazing, Chris. And I'm just wondering then for the people that are going to be listening to this, if they've got some sort of film project or an event that they would like to be filmed, can they get in touch with you? What is it? What's the process of engaging with you guys?
So basically, we were discussing this last year. So basically, the way it would work is that we usually get like phone calls or emails. So I use my own elevating voice email, which is chris.elevatingvoicescic@gmail.com. People will come to us with like a brief and say, this is what we're after. This is like what we want to be filmed. What we would do is we would then quote a price, and use a So last year I went to a course where I was taught about um, which is like we go on like a daily rate of like how much it's going to cost to. It includes some of the costs of the business
Hmm.
and like a daily fee for hiring me, which we price like £300 a day. And basically, the way it works that we've always said like we've done this based on the CIC I know of that it's also a film company that do this, and they said that we usually charge like half to start the job off and half to finish the job. Obviously, this is because we've had it in the past where I've had it in the past previous clients where like, oh, somebody will want to hire you and then say like, oh, we haven't got the money at the time, but we have got money later on down the line. So now we say, right, if you've got the money, we would prefer to have like a fixed fee, half a fixed fee. Then what we'll do, we will then discuss the terms of the brief. We will then kind of go through the process of like production, and then we will go on to like editing. Then obviously we would give the film to the client or films to the client as the case may be and say, do you need anything changing? Do you feel happy with this? And then if they are happy, we can just make the final recommendations and add the finishing touches. We also do subtitling as well, so we are very like into accessibility. So like
Hmm.
how people are perceiving this. So we always add subtitles to films to make sure that people, if there's people out there who are deaf and blind, they can like read along with the subtitles. So obviously we also think about accessibility as well. And then obviously once we've got the final deliverable sorted, we then say, right, we can then hand that over to the client and then they will decide that if they're happy with it. And then sometimes we just ask for like feedback at the end to say, how are we doing? Because we're constantly looking at like, are we doing things right? If we're not, we need to be able to change
Hmm.
them because we want this to be like a successful company. But we know that there will be times when we do make mistakes, and one for holding up to mistakes. Now, we'll always say, if there are mistakes in our company, we need to rectify that so
Hmm.
that does not happen again.
Well, it sounds to me, Chris, that you've got a highly professional approach then to filmmaking. It doesn't sound any different to me than approaching a commercial company. So that sounds absolutely brilliant. You've mentioned there about sort of lessons along the way, and I wonder if there's anything that stands out to you. So for the people watching that are either interested in setting up their own change making organization or going into film or working with people with autism, what have the lessons been for you along the way? Is there any wisdom that you can share with us?
I would say, for anyone setting up a social company, I think it is. I mean, I've learned a lot along the way. I mean, I found it. I mean, I originally one of the reasons I did so because I thought it would be easier to get a hold of like grant funding. That's been a bit of a challenge so far. I've realised that like obviously it's a bit difficult when you're a CIC trying to get funding because obviously funding is only for like projects and obviously you tend to get more funding for like charities and you community interest companies. I also tend to find that it's like it takes a lot of work and sometimes. I think, I mean, I would say it took me about 6 months last year to like set the company up before we were in a position where we were starting to get paid. So sometimes it depends on what you do as a company, like depending on that depends on like where you reach out to. It depends and it can take a while to set the company up. But I believe that once you get in a position where you've got clients, then sometimes the work can just roll off. I know
Mhm,
my I know one of my board directors keeps saying this, Martin, he keeps saying like, he believes that our company is heading in the right direction and with the right support. You just need to find the right support. I mean, I was lucky, fortunate that I got support through the BIPC,
mhm,
and Kevin Marcus, who's helped me sort of busy. He was like infallible at the setting up stage. He kind of talked
brilliant.
through um what the options were for setting up a company. Like you said, you can set up as a CIC. Said, well, we'll go down the CICO because I think I know that this is a company we want to run, but like we want it to be a not-for-profit, so we're not gonna make money. We just want to kind of like I just want to have money in the business to pay myself as like the managing director, directors and remunerations, and the rest of the money will just go into the company to kind of make a positive difference in the community. So I was lucky that we and I think there have been like other people that have been trying to support the company ever since. We've had like support through the Tees Valley Combined Authority. We've had support through an organization called Edge Creative with a lass called Carol Bell. So and as I say, we've also been trying to get ourselves out there. I know we were at the change the Junction Point event last year. We were selling off our company, and I would say it was a bit challenging considering it was like a lot more people went to one side of the room than the other, and it was a bit difficult at times. But I think we did get a few people that were interested in the business, and we are still looking at ways in which we can grow the business. I think it is going to be a bit slow, but I'm hoping that it's going to be one of these things that it may be slow, but I think it's definitely going to be well worth it in the future
Mhm.
to kind of say, this is like the difference we're making in the UK. This is kind of like the difference we're making to the film industry and the wider autistic community.
Yeah, for sure. And I wonder, Chris, then, in terms of the impact that you're wanting to make, have you looked at kind of any impact measurement frameworks? Have you looked at, or is this something that's pipeline around how you can evidence this impact? Because it sounds like it can be really transformational, especially those three strands of work that you're talking about. But what evidence might you be bringing to the table to help people see the change that you're having?
Well, this is one of the greatest things about being a film company is the fact that I found that in the past that one great way to evidence work is by actually having testimonials
Mhm.
but also creating films. Films are a great way. I mean, I've said in the past, like, I mean, for me, it's kind of a bit old for me because I'm like a very visual person. I don't tend to work in like forms and that, but as a filmmaking company, we can create like films that, we said this was one of the things we were doing as a company, is kind of like saying, if you want to showcase impact of a project, the best way to do that is through film because obviously you can showcase, you can talk to people, you can say, you can have people talk to the camera and say, what are the things that have benefited this project, how you felt accessing this project, and you can talk like people who are accessing the project and say, what do you think is the impact you've had on from this project? And I think that's a really good way to do it because then it shows to funders that like you're actually going out there and getting physical evidence rather than just writing it down in a report. I mean, reports are good. I'm not saying like not beneficial, but I think in terms of like being more visually creative, it's like thinking of new ways and like I'm always trying to find new ways in which like develop as a company, kind of like thinking like as the ways in which we can help other people and we can like kind of get that impact out there for our own company and for other companies. And that's why I
Mhm.
was like, film is the best way to do that.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think I'll definitely be getting in touch with you after this, Chris, because I've got loads of ideas now running through my head. I guess the last question then to ask you is hopefully there is a wonderful community of change makers watching this and they're all really interested in what it is that you've got to say. What would your call to action be to them? How can they support you in your organization? What can they do as a result of this interview?
So I would say that I think it's just about getting more. So like we want to kind of connect with more change makers. I know I've been looking at the more like events, but I know there isn't really that many big events out there. For like, I mean, I am still looking at like big events. I know there's like the Junction Point event at the end of the year, which is really, really good to meet with film with change makers. But I think it'd be great if there was like other events out there. I think it would be great if there was like a whole other networks like connect with like the CIC community and find out like more about support in terms of like funding. I know funding's been a bit of a challenge for us at the moment because it's kind of
Mhm.
like, at the moment we're still kind of putting in applications like National Lottery Awards for all. We're looking in like other funds that we can apply for. I know we've been talking like other organizations like Generator in the Northeast. So we are still looking at that. I guess it's about like I would put a call out to say, if anyone's interested in hiring us like film work, that would be a really great thing, like kind of boost our clients. And we're always looking to like retain clients, so we know that like there are clients out there who might have multiple film projects on the go and might say, we've got projects that we can do every year or projects that we can do every time we get funding in. So, but yeah, it's kind of like we're kind of looking for clients like that. I know at the moment we have still got. I know this year we've got stuff in the pipeline already. We're working with an organization called Team Sunflower, which I'm also a part of, which supports disabled people to get into self-employment, so to access to work. They sort of access to work grants, so working with them. I've also put an application to work with the Centre for Life on an autism project, and I'm also in conversation at the moment to see if there's any projects ongoing at the because I said I'd happily get involved with like research at the Northumbria University because I know they've got a
Oh, fab, yeah.
master's course that was through a friend of mine at a autism an autism social group in Newcastle. Finally, the last came down the other week, and Dad said, "Oh, I'd love to be involved like any research around autism because I think like there needs to be a whole. I think there's a whole lot of like research projects can be done around like autism to kind of explore, like why autism is still a very taboo sort of subject in society, and it's kind of like I want to explore more about that. So yeah, I guess it's just like trying to find clients at the moment, trying to build up
Mhm.
our sort of finances at the moment. We did a pretty good first start to the year last year, but now we want to get even bigger. We want to kind of kind of have more money in the business to be able to kind of create more social change. And I
Mm.
think, as time progresses, we will get to where we need to be. It's just like it will take a bit of time, but I think like that's one of the challenges of running a business is like a lot more. I've found there's a lot more to it than like just being self-employed, which I was before. So it's kind of like there's a lot more challenges. I think with the right team in place, then I think we will, as Martin said, we will eventually get there. We just need to keep pushing. I'll keep directing my board of directors and keep saying, this is what we need to focus on. This is like how the business is growing. We're also on the call as well for like other board of directors as well. Especially we are looking for like try to have more experience on the board as well, like people who have experience with like autism and people
Yeah.
who are autistic to kind of have
Oh,
a
interesting.
diverse
So
a
a little
diverse
shout out there for a
yeah,
potential new board member as well. So
yeah, definitely.
that, I mean, to me, Chris, it all sounds like you're absolutely going in the right direction. And yeah, for sure. If anyone watching this is looking at creating any films or documentaries or needs some help along that line, then Chris is the guy to talk to. And if you know anyone else, then yeah, put them in the direction of Chris. But I'm really looking forward to seeing how this goes, Chris. And I'd love to catch up with you kind of this time next year and see how it's all going. But for now, thank you ever so much for talking with me, and we'll share all of your links so that everybody can get in touch with you. And yeah, we can see that amazing growth going forwards for you. So thank you, Chris. Thank you for joining today's chat. If you'd like to be featured on the next series, please email hello@junctionpoint.co.uk. Speak to you soon.